Hello Year 3. This week we're going to be talking about doubling and halving, but doubling in particular today. Before we move on to today's lesson though, we've got a quick starter activity on the board. And again, this is something that we do often in class. I've written 5 numbers on the board and I want you to see if you can use just these numbers to make 51, or as close as you can get to 51. And if you were struggling with any of the times tables, do your best to work them out, but you can use your diary as well if that helps you, just for some of the trickier ones. But can you use just these numbers only once to see if you can make 51? You haven't got to use every number, but you can only use these numbers and only use them once to try and make 51. I've written 5 minutes on here, so maybe give yourself 5 minutes to see if you can make 51. You may even be able to make 51 in more than one way. Do your best and I'll just put my answers onto the board. So pause the video and see if you can solve this problem. Welcome back Year 3. You may have found lots of different ways, but I've just put one onto the board that I found. 7 times 6 is 42, bit of a tricky times table there. You may have had to use your diary if you found that one. Add 5 is 47, add 4 is 51. So I used 7, 6, 5 and 4. Well done if you got close to 51 or if you made 51. Today we're talking about doubling, adding the same number twice. When you double something, it's like timesing it by 2 lots of the same number. I've just written 4 numbers onto the board to start with, just to show you that I know there are lots of numbers you could just double in your head. So see if you can just double these 4 numbers just in your head without writing anything down. Because I think some of us can double some numbers without using a written method. Today's written method is for larger numbers. So as a first task, see if you can double these 4 numbers. I've written those answers onto the board. Well done if you solved any of these. Double 7 is 14, 2 12s are 24, 2 8s are 16, 2 20s are 40. And I'm sure you got at least some of those. But that shows me that some numbers you can just double in your head because you just know those numbers and you have a good understanding of the number system. But when it comes to larger numbers, you may need to use a written method. And this is probably something that I still sort of do in my head. So this is a really useful method to learn. I've drawn these boxes that may remind you of the method and what you have to do. If you think you can answer this question and use this method, have a go and try and do it. But I'm going to go through this one together with us first, and then you can see if you can answer these ones on this side. So the first thing we do is partition the number. We break it into tens and units. So 36, that's our tens number, that's our units number. So we have 3 tens, but this is the bit that catches some people out. We don't just write 3, it's 3 tens. So we write 30. That number is 30, and this number is 6. So we've partitioned the number. We've broken it into 2 parts, tens and units. And then we double both these parts. We know that double 3 is 6, so double 30 is 60. And double 6 is 12. So we've partitioned the number, we've doubled both those numbers, and now we need to add it together, 60 and 12. Well, 60 add 10 is 70, add 2 more is 72. And that's the method that I'd like you to be using today on the worksheet. The boxes are already laid out on the worksheet for you to use this exact method. I'd like you now to pause the video if you can and see if you can use this method to answer these questions. And then I'll do the same on my board, and that way it gives you a chance to check that you know what you're doing and you're using that method correctly. So pause the video and see if you can double these 4 numbers using this method. Partition the numbers into tens and units, double both parts, and then add it back together. Have a go, and I'm going to pause the video and add the answers to the board. Welcome back, Year 3. I've added those answers onto the board, so hopefully you have used that same method and got some of these correct. Let's just run through them. So 47, we partition to 40 and 7. We double both parts, so 40 becomes 80 and 7 becomes 14. and then we add those numbers together and we get 94. That was our answer. Well done if you got that one. 58. So we partition the number again and it becomes 50 and 8. We double both parts and we get 116. Then we put those numbers together and we make 116. And that's our answer. Again, well done if you got that one. 76. We partition the number to 70 and 6. We double both parts. Remember, if we know what double 7 is, we know what double 70 is. It's the same number, just with a 0 at the end. So 140 and then 12. Add those numbers together, we get 152. And finally, 29 is 20 and 9 when we partition the number. We double both parts and we get 40 and 18. Add it together, 58. Well done, Year 3. Thank you for watching. Today's activity has 2 sheets, and it's exactly the same method we've been through on the board. The first sheet is just 2-digit numbers. Once you get to the second sheet, there are 2-digit and then 3-digit numbers. If you're partitioning a 3-digit number, it's still the same thing, but you just break it into 3 parts. How many hundreds, how many tens, how many units. Doubling each part and then adding the number back together. If you complete all of that, again, go onto your times table page and complete some of your times table Rockstars activities, because I'm sure they're beginning to mount up because there will be one added each week. So have a go, maybe spend 10 minutes if you have time going back onto times tables as well, because it's really important we keep up with our times tables. Any problems, come onto Google Meet and ask me any questions or check any work. Thank you, Year 3.